New bounty hunter Chateau Dankworth meets master assassin Son Ryang-ha and is defeated by him, so she is surprised when he tries to flirt with her. Over the next month, Son constantly invites her on dates, even capturing valuable bounty targets for her to get her attention, but she ignores him. Chateau's boss, Euripides Ritzland, is asked to apprehend Son, who 8 years previously assassinated dozens of high-ranking triad members. Euripides warns Chateau to focus on her current less dangerous target. Chateau is contacted by Son, who has already captured her target, and requests a date on Christmas Eve, which she reluctantly agrees to. On Christmas Eve, Son has a good time while Chateau stubbornly refuses to accept it as a date. Over dinner in his hotel room, Son reveals Chateau's target, a pimp who would rob his girlfriend's clients, is dead and stored away for Chateau to collect. Though Chateau is suspicious, he wants nothing in return except time with her. Euripides witnesses Son with Chateau and is unsure what to make of it. Via flashback, it is shown Chateau was found as a child with a dead unidentified man and unable to remember her name. A man watches Son returning home. Euripides worries about Chateau getting involved with Son. Chateau retrieves the body of her pimp target. Euripides reveals to Chateau the man who hired them to find Son, the eldest son of a triad boss, was just assassinated by Son. Chateau is shot at by a man with a spider web facial tattoo, causing her to crash off the road. Son becomes suspicious when Chateau, who normally rejects his calls instantly, starts letting the phone ring endlessly. Spiderweb chases Chateau into the woods and overpowers her. Son arrives, finds Chateau's car and tricks Spiderweb into answering Chateau's phone, revealing their location. Spiderweb leaves Chateau alive but gives her a message for Son that he is a traitor and must pay for his past. Chateau awakens in a hotel where Son admits her current situation was indirectly caused by mistakes he made. As she has a fever, Chateau passes out again but tells him about the spiderweb tattoo. Son cannot be sure, but he suspects he has met Spiderweb somewhere before. Due to her fever, Chateau dreams about the night she was found as a child with the dead man. Seeming depressed, Chateau has a shower but is furious when Son manages to take her clothes to be cleaned, including her underwear. Before she leaves, she passes on Spiderweb's message. Son remembers 5 years previously when he and Spiderweb, revealed to be called Ho, both worked for the same organization, and Ho was furious when Son was going to be promoted first despite Ho having worked there longer. Chateau returns to the office where Euripides is upset at her absence plus the destruction of her car. Chateau later finds Son at her home. He notices a picture that interests him of Chateau with her parents. Chateau reveals Euripides knows about him, but Son is not worried, since if it is revealed Chateau and the company benefited from Son capturing bounties for them, their reputation would be ruined, so their only choices are to kill him or work with him secretly. Chateau is confused why Son is risking his life, but he points out she is doing the same by associating with him, having not once properly rejected him. Chateau's mother calls to remind her about the anniversary of her father's death, upsetting her, so Son leaves. Chateau visits her father's grave while her mother meets a young man named Brian, a friend of Chateau's from childhood, and decides to tell him the truth. Son meets Chateau in the cemetery's church, but she declines to spend time with him. 3 men attack the church, so Son kills 2 and interrogates the third, learning the target was actually Chateau. Chateau rushes to find the church's missing nun and finds Ho holding her hostage. Despite fighting back, Ho knocks Chateau unconscious. Son calls Ho to demand to know what he wants. Chateau's mother reveals how she and her husband adopted Chateau at a young age, as her husband had been the police officer in charge when Chateau was discovered with the dead body, whose passport identified him as Son Ryang-ha. Chateau claimed her surname was Noble, but no record of a Chateau Noble existed anywhere, and when the case went cold, Chateau was adopted and became Chateau Dankworth. Son meets and defeats Ho, but the car he was hiding Chateau in explodes. Despite having been shot, Ho draws a knife and insists they continue their fight. It is shown Chateau escaped the explosion. Ho remembers how a triad member, Sung-woo, took him in when he was a drug addict and became his mentor, before Son killed Sung-woo during his assassination of the triad leaders. Ho manages to stab Son but is shot and killed. Son retrieves Chateau and escapes but passes out from his wound. Another unknown assassin reports Ho's defeat to his boss and asks what to do next. With help from Jim, Euripides' secretary, Chateau gets Son to a back alley doctor, but Jim also reports everything to Euripides, so Chateau suggests Son quietly disappear before Euripides arrives. Son offers to take her with him to a life free of responsibility, but she refuses, so he leaves, after teasing her first. Euripides suspends Chateau for 3 weeks. After her suspension ends, Son contacts Chateau to inform her he is leaving on a trip. Chateau begins to suffer memory flashes of the dead man while he was still alive. Chateau, Euripides, and Jim all go undercover on the cruise ship Artemisia to guard one of Euripides' relatives, a VIP, who is highly influential in world politics and finance. Son also boards the ship, as does the unknown assassin. In the past, an unnamed child is rescued by a man, who names the child Son Ryang-ha. Chateau and Jim learn the VIP is Hawk, Euripides' wife, who owns a multi-billion-dollar corporation and through her powerful family, is politically connected. Son appears before Chateau, who suspects he is there to assassinate Hawk. Son neither confirms nor denies this but instead challenges Chateau. As long as Chateau can see him, he won't do anything. With Euripides' agreement, Chateau agrees to share a room with Son for the whole voyage, with Euripides and Jim monitoring via cameras. Son notices Chateau is struggling to sleep and, after some teasing, carries her to bed where she quickly falls asleep, surprising Son that she must trust him. Son points out Chateau's clothes make her stand out while she should be undercover, so he takes her dress shopping, despite her obvious discomfort. Jim arranges extra reinforcements to keep Hawk safe. Euripides asks to meet Son in private, revealing he knows Chateau doesn't remember much of her past except that her original surname might be Noble. Jim's reinforcements, Jose and Cedrin, arrive. Son evades Chateau to meet Euripides at the rear of the ship, his disappearance worrying Chateau. Euripides is stabbed in the throat by an unknown attacker. It is shown Euripides was stabbed by the unknown assassin. Son directs Chateau where to find Euripides and chases the assassin, who escapes after warning Son he and Chateau must remain on the ship. Euripides manages to tell Chateau it was not Son who stabbed him before he is flown to a hospital with Hawk and Jim. Chateau is confronted by the assassin Jinan 1. Chateau locates Son and points her gun at him, Jinan having offered to spare her mother's life and pay her a large sum in exchange for Son. Surprisingly, Son agrees to be handed to Jinan. Overcome by guilt at Son's agreement to be traded and fear for her mother, Chateau attempts to shoot herself so Jinan no longer has a reason to kill her mother, but Son angrily stops her and begins choking her while insisting she be more honest with herself and others. Jose and Cedrin are suspicious the voyage hasn't been cancelled following Euripides' departure. Jinan's boss is shown manipulating events. Son chokes Chateau unconscious. Via flashback, Son is shown as a teenager diligently studying so he can one day work for Donnie, the man who rescued and named him. However, Donnie instead gave Son an important secret mission. Chateau dreams of being in the car with the dead man who told her he is Son Ryang-ha, a friend, and she told him she is Chateau Noble. Jinan murders Jose and Cedrin. Euripides finally wakes up so Jim decides to meet the ship at the next port, but is shot by another assassin. At the port, Son leaves the ship and meets Jinan, explaining he has left Chateau aboard as she is not to be involved further. Jinan and another assassin, Nika, begin driving Son to meet their employer, who they claim is Donald Bachman, aka Donnie, whom Son claims he does not know and resists Nika's attempt to interrogate him further. Chateau is located aboard the ship by Jim, who survived with minor injuries thanks to the bulletproof windows on his car. They attempt to leave the ship but are stopped by Jim's would-be assassin, who tries to capture Chateau. Working together, the assassin is shot and knocked out. Donnie calls the assassin's phone but Chateau does not answer it. Son is taken handcuffed and blindfolded to meet Donnie. Donnie explains his assassins are anonymous orphans he raised himself. He also reveals Ryang-ha's son was the name he gave one of his orphans who died, meaning Son is not the original Ryang-ha's son, but instead an imposter. Chateau and Jim smuggle themselves off the ship with the injured assassin, who explains Donnie is known as the Trigger and is paid by clients to use his assassins to start wars all over the world. Chateau asks Jim to protect her parents, and then resigns so her actions will no longer tarnish Euripides' reputation. Nika allows Son to free himself so they can fight. Several guards are killed and Son's recently repaired wound is reopened. Chateau breaks down the gate to Donnie's mansion with a truck. Son weakens from blood loss and through flashback shows that when he was a child he was also in the car with young Chateau and the real Ryang-ha. Son collapses and seems to accept his death. Bored, Nika casually reveals Chateau is outside before walking away. Jinan confronts Nika over letting Son go. Forcing himself to recover, Son rescues Chateau from the guards and happily calls her an idiot for almost dying trying to rescue him. Chateau and Son hide in a homeless camp to treat Son's injuries. To atone for accidentally helping Son escape, Nika promises to find and kill him. Chateau and Son awkwardly thank each other for saving each other. Donnie decides not to send Nika after Son, but still demands they find Chateau, who he has been searching for since she was a child. Son is forced to pick pockets for cash, revealing that due to an unpleasant childhood he was forced to learn criminal skills before learning to read or write, causing Chateau to feel guilty. Chateau wonders about Donnie's organization and why they are interested in her, but Son refuses to answer. Angry, Chateau attempts to leave to find out herself. Son loses his temper and threatens to snap her wrist to keep her obedient, but then relents and explains he isn't willing to lose her after he spent so many years trying to find her after losing her the first time. Chateau suddenly remembers that when she was a child she shot someone. Via flashback it is shown that Donnie had asked the original Ryang-ha to look after a man named List Noble, and on his way to meet List he encountered and then saved a young Son from child traffickers. Ryang-ha, a university student, looked after Son for a week while waiting for List. As Son was about to leave, Ryang-ha got a call from List begging him to find something List had hidden. List was then shot while still on the phone by Sung-woo, who was furious the girl he was looking for was not there. Son helped Ryang-ha and they found a young girl asleep hidden in a suitcase. Stealing a car they drove away, unsure what to do with her. She woke up, crying, but managed to say she was Chateau Noble. Realizing she was List's daughter, Ryang-ha decided to take responsibility over her. Breaking into a cabin for the night, Son decided to leave. For a moment Ryang-ha was uncertain if he should kill Son to keep his whereabouts secret, but let him leave. On the road Son met the surviving child traffickers who wanted revenge and chased Son into the woods. Ryang-ha guiltily decided to bring Son back, leaving Chateau sleeping and also leaving his gun. Unable to find Son, Ryang-ha returned to the cabin where Chateau, having woken up scared and alone, hid in the closet with Ryang-ha's gun, and when he tried to open the door, she shot him. Adult Chateau, having remembered all this, collapses in Son's arms. The trafficker beat Son badly but Son managed to kill him. Ryang-ha was shot in the neck but initially survived and escaped in the car with Chateau. Son passed out, waking up in hospital a week later where a police detective, presumably Officer Dankworth, Chateau's future adoptive father, informed Son that Ryang-ha died after getting Chateau to safety. Devastated, Son took Ryang-ha's name as his own. In the present, Son brings Chateau to another of his safe houses where she is so exhausted after remembering everything she sleeps for 2 days. After waking she is furious that Son knew everything the whole time without telling her and yet finally understands why she never once properly rejected Son, because deep in her mind she had recognized Ryang-ha's name and couldn't bring herself to reject the man she accidentally killed. Donnie meets with the head of the Noble family and Nika takes Jim hostage while Euripides manages to keep Chateau's mother safe. Chateau attempts to hire Son to assassinate Donnie but he tells her she will have to work with him as an equal, which she happily accepts, but is confused when he refuses money and tells her to work out what he really wants as payment. Thank you for sticking until the end. Subscribe for more videos like this. Be sure to hit the like button as well.